Gonna have to wait. So this is from Politico, talking about Pompeo, who is the Secretary of State in the United States, obviously. So it says Pompeo sticks up for U.S. presence as Iraq votes to eject foreign troops. So why, if Iraq is voting to expel all U.S. troops there, and Pompeo says that we are very concerned with Iraqi freedom and sovereignty, then why would we not be getting those 5,000 or so U.S. troops home right now? So this is, let's see, a quote from him. As for the activity today with respect to Iraq, we've been in their country, we've been supporting Iraqi sovereignty, there's that key word again. We've been continuing to take down the terrorist threat against the Iraqi people, Pompeo told Fox News Sunday. We've been continuing, so let's focus on this part for a sec. We've been continuing to take down the terrorist threat against the Iraqi people. Actually, the U.S. government assassinated Qasem Soleimani, who played an integral part in helping those Iraqi militias defeat ISIS, both within Iraq and Syria. Let's see. So Iraqi's PM Adil Abdul Mahdi on Sunday criticized that strike as a political assassination, the Qasem Soleimani strike, and urged Parliament to take urgent measures to force the exit of American troops. Iraqi lawmakers later voted in favor of a resolution that calls for ending foreign military presence in the country. Awesome. It's super promising to hear that. So, and this is more gibberish from Pompeo trying to justify the unjustifiable, that being the continued American troop presence in Iraq. We are confident that the Iraqi people want the United States to continue to be there to fight the counter-terror campaign and will continue to do all the things we need to keep America safe. Having U.S. troop presence in Iraq does not make the United States any safe. If anything, it makes us less safe. The citizens there, the lawmakers don't want us there. The U.S. population does not want our troops there. We need to have never been there in the first place and get out as soon as we can. Asked about a potential parliamentary request that U.S. forces depart Iraq, Pompeo said the administration would have to look at what we do when Iraqi leadership and government makes a decision, which they, just made. It has to be, I guess, passed by the full government, but I'd be surprised if they didn't do that. You have the PM coming out and saying, it's a violation of sovereignty, of the assassination, as well as earlier airstrikes. The parliament just voted to remove all U.S. troops, I should say. And there's been, ongoing protests like you saw outside the U.S. Embassy earlier this week in Baghdad saying, get the GTFO to the American presence in Iraq. Let's see. But he added that the American people should know that we'll make the right decision and will take actions that, frankly, the previous administration refused to take to do just that. Talking shit about Obama, not sure exactly what he meant by that. And then so soon after his appearance, the Iraqi parliament did indeed vote to have all U.S. troops removed from the country, as well as a resolution to the UN Security Council calling out the U.S.'s violation of their sovereignty. And so this is some just more kind of verbal diarrhea from the spokeswomen from the State Department, Morgan Ortagus. The United States is disappointed by the action taken today in the Iraqi Council of Representatives. While we await further clarification on the legal nature and impact of today's resolution, we strongly urge Iraqi leaders to reconsider the importance of the ongoing economic and security relationship between the two countries, and the continued presence of the global coalition to defeat ISIS. We believe it is in the shared interest of the United States and Iraq to continue fighting ISIS together. The administration remains committed to a sovereign, stable, and prosperous Iraq. No, you don't. That's not what the Trump administration believes. If they are really concerned about the sovereignty and stableness and prosperous nature of Iraq, then they would listen to what the Iraqi people and what the government is now saying, that the U.S. needs to get out of there. They don't want you there. We're not helping anything. You know, the U.S. didn't help Iraq defeat ISIS. That was, you know, a large part, Qasem Soleimani and he had played a large part in helping with that, as well as, you know, the Kurds. And, you know, the U.S. isn't making Iraq any more prosperous or stable. They're making it, you know, less stable and more corrupt. Let's see. Says another wild card is Trump himself, said Rob Malley, president of the International Crisis Group. The president has long said he would prefer to have fewer U.S. entanglements in the Middle East, and if he senses the Iraqis are ungrateful, he might just opt for a quick withdrawal. Well, the Iraqis want you out of there, so yeah, get the troops and, you know, everybody else out. Jesus, and then there's some more gibberishness from Trump. But speaking later on Sunday on Air Force One, Trump made it clear he believes the Iraqis owe the United States. What do the Iraqis owe the United States? We illegally invaded their country, started a illegal and offensive war in 2003 that totally destroyed the country. Out of that power vacuum of taking Saddam out of power, ISIS was created. And their country has been in, you know, chaos in large part due to the U.S. since then, a whole, you know, 17 years later. So if anybody owes a country anything, it's the United States owes, you know, the country of Iraq and its citizens so much. It's basically incalculable. At least 500,000 Iraqis were killed during the war and subsequent, you know, occupation. Thousands of U.S. troops were killed. Trillions of dollars were wasted. Let's see. Oh, in this part, oh my goodness. The president also said he expects the Iraqis to be polite, saying if they weren't, we will charge them sanctions like they've never seen before ever. It'll make Iranian sanctions look somewhat tame. And, you know, what was it? It's during the Clinton administration we had some pretty draconian sanctions on Iraq that I believe led to around 500,000 Iraqi children dying. And Secretary of State at the time, Madeleine Albright, I believe this was on an interview on 60 Minutes on CBS, she said that was justified. So, you know, if we did end up leveling those, you know, horribly draconian sanctions again on Iraq, it wouldn't be anything new. It would be kind of returning to the Clinton years, but maybe it would be worse. Why the F would the Iraqis be polite to the U.S. government after what we've put their country through? I mean, if I was living in Iraq, if I was a Iraqi citizen, I would be unbelievably pissed off and upset and angry at what the U.S. government had done to my country and the hundreds of thousands of fellow Iraqis that they had killed, and the destruction of, you know, my country, the environment there, the infrastructure. How ISIS was created because of the invasion. Why would I be polite about that? I would be unbelievably upset. So upset. Let's see. Yeah. And then, so what the U.S. government was saying is basically that Soleimani was going to help plan or execute some type of attack on, American forces or interests in the region. So this is why we had to assassinate him, and this is Pompeo talking about that. We will do everything we can to share this information with the American people, but I think the American people understand too. There are certain things you just can't put out in public. He said, you got to protect Americans who are out collecting the intelligence. The intelligence we will need in the days and weeks ahead. Continue to defend and protect them. So basically, what he's saying is they don't have any of this information, and I'm going to, make up an excuse about protecting, intelligence assets or resources in the region, but actually I don't have any evidence because there wasn't any. That's how I translated that. Yeah, so it said Pompeo last week said Soleimani's killing disrupted an imminent attack that would have endangered as many as hundreds of American lives, and claimed the intelligence community had assessed the risk of doing nothing was enormous. Although Democrats pushed back against that notion on Sunday, saying they had not seen sufficient details to support the administration's conclusion, Pompeo continued to insist that Soleimani's plotting in the days prior to his death posed an active threat. I think that's a load of BS, and they just kind of came up with it after the fact, after how much blowback they were getting, both internally from the U.S. citizenry as well as global actors around the globe. So we'll see what happens, but kudos to the Iraqi parliament for voting to expel all U.S. troops. Hope that happens soon for the sake of your country as well as the United States. Peace. Much love.